fourth in the country and starts hosting the tournament this weekend. So very, very exciting news from the university. So thank you, Scott. I want to thank Franny Buckholzer for coercing me into being here today. I said, Franny, no one's going to really want to come and hear what I have to say. So I made sure we padded the room, and I coerced Old Trail community in the 8th grade to join me here today. It's an honor and privilege to speak at this historic event. So let me start. Future of education. I'm going to go through a whole host of topics. This is a huge topic, the future of education. So before we get started, the first person who can tell me what the capital city and its population is of the country of Uganda can come up here and get $1. Capital city of Uganda and its population, ready, go. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I got $1. Actually, Dr. Scarborough is going to hand you $1. Erwin, and what's the population of Kampala? 1.2 million. Erwin, how did you find that out? Do you remember that from your days in elementary school? Or did you just look it up on your phone? You are a world traveler, but he looked it up on his phone. We'll come back to the meaning of this in a little bit. Erwin, I owe you $1. I actually have it. I think to understand the future of education, it's really important to understand where education has come from. I'm going to take a moment and give everyone a brief introduction about the history of the American educational system. As civilization advanced, a set of specialized tradesmen and craftsmen emerged. Farmers, blacksmiths, cobblers, seamstresses, and so on. This actually developed a new form of education called the apprenticeship model. Under the tutelage of a master, people learned by doing. They remained in apprentice mode until achieving mastery. For hundreds of years, apprenticeships formed the educational background and backbone of the society's primitive economy, enabling essential skills to be passed down from generation to generation. From the earliest grammar schools of the 18th century to the mid-19th century, academies and common schools formed our compulsory public education system, following an agricultural calendar. Later on, a new educational model was introduced as the factory school. This model replaced the one-room schoolhouse. This system of universal public education trained students to perform rote tasks rapidly, without errors or creative variation, which was perfect for assembly line jobs. This system worked spectacularly well. A robust middle class emerged, and America became the world's most powerful country. As things changed over time, instead of reinventing the model, we chose to muddle along with short-term, often counterproductive tweaks. Today, students spend hours being lectured as teachers cover irrelevant material. They complete mindless tasks, take far too many ill-conceived standardized tests, and have creativity and innovation schooled right out of them. We need to reinvent education and give all kids a fighting chance in life. Memorization and repetition do not support long-term retention, but these are the methods we are most likely to pursue as individuals when it comes to teaching. Sir Ken Robinson, a best-selling author, reminds us, we do not organize our days in 40-minute sound bites and pieces, blow whistles at home and move on to the next thing. We just do that in schools, and it gets in the way of learning. We do not sit people at desks all day long when they are at home and get them to fill out multiple choice tests. Find another industry that has changed so little for the past 100 years as our educational system has. going to show you a little film. If I could have my friends dim the lights. This film's entitled, Did You Know 2028? And for those of you who struggle with math, this is what the world may look like in 13 years. So if you had trouble keeping up with it, the last two sentences read like this. The global economy is being transformed with jobs outsourced to developing nations and artificial intelligence. Sorry about that. So how will we prepare responsible global citizens with a heart for servant leadership in an increasingly secular, internationalized, technology-driven world? I'm about to introduce that. So America's schools as a whole are failing to prepare students for the 21st century. Today's education system is badly broken, in my opinion, and needs to be completely reworked and reorganized. The rate of change in the world has increased to the point where we will never again have the luxury of centuries or decades, or perhaps even years, to recognize, design, develop, test, and deploy new lessons for students. Interconnectivity is increasing knowledge development and transfer at a rate that is vastly faster and more efficient than our ability to keep up with it. Much has been made by our educational experts and researchers about critical 21st century skills. I have narrowed it down to 3 essential groups of skills that students must have today. The first group is what I call foundational skills. Good sound writing skills, reading, public speaking, study skills, and mathematics are critical skills that all must master. That hasn't changed. What has changed is we need the second group of skills. I call them the 6 C's. Creativity, the ability to generate new ideas and new thinking. Critical thinking, the ability to analyze information and ideas. Collaboration, being able to work well with others. Communication, both written and the all-important public speaking, which is forgotten in many schools today. Curiosity, the ability to ask questions. And character, which is frankly above and beyond anything else I've listed here. The third group of skills includes global citizenship, media literacy, and environmental stewardship. Being good environmental stewards is a huge priority for our citizens of both today and tomorrow. Learning by doing is critically important, and there are many ways to do it. We have to deepen the engagement of students in the process of learning, and the best way to do that is to do it while they learn something new. We also need to expose students to long-term projects so that they can apply knowledge to real-world problems, which we call problem-based learning. On your tables, there are 5 little plastic cups, all numbered 1 to 5. There's a little piece of paper and an old trail pen. Here are your instructions for the next 3 minutes. As a group at your table, you need to write down the flavors of the jelly beans. There are 8 or 9 of you at a table. There are 3 jelly beans. Figure out how you're going to do it. Write all the flavors down. When you have them all, raise your hands. Ready, go.
What should I write down? Orange,
So just to let everybody know, because the headmaster of Old Trail counts so well, 3 of my tables and 8th graders do not have jelly beans. So I apologize. However, most of you have done this exercise before, so if you want to walk around the room and help some tables, go right ahead. Okay, we are finished. Wow. You guys are fast. All right. Oh, we got a few tables finished. Number 1, buttered popcorn. Number 2, Dr. Pepper. Number 3, pancakes and syrup. Number 4, bubble gum. And number 5, cotton candy. Okay. Now you may not know this, actually, I'm very impressed by the way all of you went after this activity. If we applied this to some academic content, this is the way we often teach in the 21st century. We engaged you, you had to be collaborative. We gave you a little bit of critical thinking, although you're focused on jelly bean flavors. But you had to think, you had to work together, you had to communicate, you had to be curious, And character is important because you want everyone at the table to have an opportunity to partake in the activity. So we can do this in the classroom very easily, very effectively, and I know that those of you who run or do hiring for business know that you want future employees that can do all of those skills. They're very important. They can't be taken for granted. So the United States is going to be facing a decade of deep disruption as the digital revolution and cultural and social changes start to change our world's fundamental structure as it relates to education. We are moving toward a very diverse learning system in which students and their families will be able to customize their learning journeys to an unprecedented extent. In the future, students will be able to learn from flexible, customizable learning environments designed to best meet their needs. They will be able to choose from a virtually unlimited number of tools and devices. Teachers will be able to continually access and adapt curriculum to best support their students. Learning is no longer going to be constrained by an arbitrary time period or even the physical dimensions of a school. Technology provides some fantastic opportunities to personalize education in many respects. It offers extraordinary opportunities for both students and teachers to access ideas, materials, history, and culture from all around the planet. Teachers in many schools are using tablet devices around the table in the classroom to access web documents and manipulate shared data. They are flipping their classrooms so that more class time can be used for guided problem solving, and they are creating blogs that can extend discussions beyond the confines of the classroom, posting questions to stimulate the next day's discussions in class. Then students can work on assignments on their own schedule, at their own pace, at home. In the future, many believe every student is going to have materials, textbooks, games, whatever they choose in a materials portfolio that updates in real time based on what you know and how you learn best. Talk about personalized education. Companies such as Microsoft have been working on multi-touch services for many years. As touch surfaces become cheaper and more advanced, we're seeing concepts and products that will soon change the classroom in very big ways. Imagine a workspace where students are collaborating live with peers from around the world, manipulating virtual objects right in front of them. Diversity and global citizenship training are our common future. Teachers in classrooms will actively build global competence, encourage students to wrestle with the complexity of an issue, then design and implement solutions based on that student's research. Connecting regularly with peers and other schools in different parts of the world will enhance their learning and sharpen their skills. As technology has transformed productivity, it has changed the structure of our economy. Jobs that were once the backbone of our old economy, like assembly line jobs, office administrators, information processors, have vanished and have been replaced by automated or outsourced solutions. Relevancy is very important in education for today and in the future. We are looking at a decade of deep disruption for education, similar to that of the scope that Amazon brought to retail and that iTunes brought to the music industry. We have the opportunity, and I also believe the responsibility, to redesign our entire educational system, transforming our public and private education system from the current industrial design into a new model, consistent with the emerging economy. The world of work today requires future leaders to be collaboration-driven, rule-defining, creative, innovative, lateral, and focused. There's a huge gap, and schools have got to come together to fill this gap. As we move forward, innovation is critically important and an important skill that students must acquire. Innovation creates breathtaking opportunities. Our education system needs to help kids accelerate their potential in the innovation area. Given that my friends from the University of Akron sponsored me today, I would be foolish not to talk about teacher preparation as we think about the future. Most U.S. schools use obsolete education materials to train teachers, and student teachers spend far too much time listening to boring lectures on education theory and far too little time on practicing their teaching skills. Therefore, we graduate about 100,000 new teachers each year in the United States. Very few of them prepared to teach in a way that reflects state-of-the-art practices. Teachers are critical to student success, and we cannot do this without great teachers. We need to invigorate applied learning in our schools and treat teacher competence with respect. We also need to bring back vocational training and teach important life skills to those who are interested in that area and respect those that wish to learn and master a trade. A lot of research has taken place on the success of college graduates. Researchers Kaling and Hirsch, who wrote a piece, "We Are Losing Our Minds," concluded that far too many college students graduate without developing the capability to think critically and creatively, speak and write coherently, solve problems, comprehend complex issues, accept responsibility and accountability, take the perspective of others, or meet the expectations of employers. Thinking ahead to 2050, which I know is hard to do, which skills are going to be critically important for our children? Clearly, collaboration. People are going to have to be networked to people around the world, and resources using interactive technologies and accessing broad social networks that have professional education benefits. Communication skills, you're going to have to balance online, social, and educational networks and innovate and use cross-cultural collaboration as a way to get there. We are going to see significant changes. We're going to be moving from the student-centered to creative and personalized. Students are going to produce knowledge versus consuming it. They're going to get more active and experiential. Teachers will become moderators. Virtual environments will become 24/7 and used regularly by students to access information. Customized online learning will become the norm. Universities must and will get more focused on job readiness. Global competencies are going to be a must. We will see virtual and holographic conferencing and mobile technology at alarming levels. Young people today must learn and embrace the important concept of environmental sustainability so that they can become better stewards of our precious environment and natural resources. They must understand concepts of innovation and apply it to cleaning water, biomimicry, reducing carbon, and in creating new and cleaner energy sources. Here are some interesting facts to think about as you leave today. India has more honors kids than the United States has kids. China today is the #1 English-speaking nation in the world. The U.S. Department of Labor estimates that today's learner will have 10 to 14 jobs before the age of 38. There are over 1.9 billion monthly active users of Facebook. If it were a country, it would be the largest in the world. There are 60 billion searches on Google every month. The amount of new technical information is doubling every 2 years. Therefore, for students starting a 4-year technical degree, that means half of what they learn in their first year of study will be outdated by their 3rd year of study. I would like to encourage our community and educational leaders to collaborate, to make some lasting change that will benefit our future students. The road's not easy, but I believe we can do it. Our obligation is to reimagine our schools and give all kids an education that will help them thrive in a world that values them for what they can do, not the facts that they know. What's the capital of Uganda? Irwin got it in 4 seconds. The more of us who share a common vision for the future of education, the more impact we will have on state and national policies that affect our kids' futures. Think about it. The Akron area is fortunate to have a large public university, strong public and private schools, 3 hospitals, national and international companies, strong public and private foundation. We have what it takes to do this. If we expand our vision to Northeast Ohio, add in additional and significant resources, it gets even better. We are preparing kids for jobs that do not exist yet, using technologies that have not been invented in order to solve problems we did not even know are problems yet. The future is now. We must embrace it. We must prepare, be excited, not scared. I personally am very excited about all of this. I hope you are too. Thank you very much for being great listeners.
Our speaker has graciously agreed to respond to your questions. If you have a question, please fill out the note cards on your table, or better yet, as we enter the future, use your mobile device utilizing the Quail technology. Instructions are in the program. Questions will be offered by David Hunter, our program chair.
Thank you, Michael. As you might imagine, after this interactive address here, we're getting quite a few questions. Let's start off with this one. Changes are clearly necessary in the 21st century. How do we accommodate that with the rising costs that will be involved in making those changes, especially in light of what we see to be the rising cost for education prior to making those changes?
That's a fabulous question. Actually, technology can reduce some incremental costs for educational purposes, but to really make some radical change, it's going to require a pretty large investment. I believe that's going to start with retraining teachers and equipping schools, all schools, with the technological equipment that they need. But it's also a mindset change. As I was preparing this presentation, I was talking to mainly people that are older than I am. And it's really hard to convince them that getting kids to regurgitate facts and memorize is really not terribly necessary in most disciplines. That is a mind shift change. So we have to make that. Then we have to invest in the technology and the teacher training to make this happen on a large scale.
As you might expect, we have several inquiries about standardized testing. Evaluation of teachers now hinges on the success of standardized test scores. How do you inspire your staff to differentiate their classrooms while maintaining appropriate outcomes?
Very easy. Get rid of all the standardized tests and do it now. Common Core is a joke. Okay? It's not a political statement. A lot of people think it's a political statement because it came out of the Obama administration. It was actually created by Bush Sr.'s administration to raise performance expectations of our nation's children. It was well intended. Then unfortunately became a political issue. However, it's all testing based. The OGTs, the Ohio graduation test, what's the hardest kind of teacher to find to teach in the state of Ohio? Anybody know? What grade? 4th grade. Who wants to teach when you're going to be evaluated on the test performance of your children in your classroom? They could have a bad day. They could have had disruption at home the night before that impacted their sleep habits. They could have gotten confused and it could have ruined them for the rest of the test. Who wants to be evaluated that way? If we can get rid of standardized testing and come up with portfolio measures of assessments, and there are large groups of competitive colleges, it's up to 350 competitive United States colleges that have come forward and said ACT and SAT are now optional. To supplement, you have to show us a variety of work that you have done in school that supports your candidacy for our college. That's fantastic, and I think we're going to see more and more of it. So the sooner we can move our testing mandate out of the way, I think good things will happen.
The prior question and your answer to it sort of leads into this next question. In your remarks, you talked about the 6 C's: creativity, critical thinking, collaboration, communication, curiosity, and character. One member of our audience says, how do you suggest measuring whether or not students have mastered your 6 C's, or do you even try to measure that?
That's a great question. I think you can measure it. You can create some metrics to measure those things by getting really talented groups of teachers around to create those metrics. Those are all measurable. If you write out clear expectations for those skills and what mastery means for each one of those, I think it can be done.
Much discussion in our society about the fading middle class and the wealth gap here. So one member of our audience asked, what does the future of education hold for the growing poverty and homeless population of children?
That's a great question. In my opinion, the only way this will be successful is if we work with all children. Not the wealthy, not the poorest, but we got to work with everybody. And I think there are ways in which when we introduce technology, obviously schools that are less funded than other schools are going to need some real financial help. If a community rallies around the cause, for example, in Summit County, we have the companies, the foundations, the resources, the individuals to do this. If there's a clearly articulated plan to see success, this can be done. Is it a large and complicated undertaking? Absolutely. But to me, we'll only be successful if all children emerge successful, not just those who have the resources.
One member of our audience poses this question: have you had enough exposure to the Akron Public Schools to offer an opinion about how you think they stack up?
Is David here? No, I have not. I don't think that's fair. I cannot imagine the degree of difficulty of running a large public school district, given all of the complexities that are involved, all the different constituents that you have to try and make happy, and unfortunately, all of the resources that are being taken away. It is really, really difficult. There is a country, if you're interested in this topic, Google Finland education and see what comes up. You will see, do you ever hear about Finland? We never hear about Finland. Maybe in the Olympics you'll hear about Finland once in a while, okay? But Finland is doing it right for all children. And if you're interested in this, go see what they're doing. And by the way, they just created a massive disruption. They are one of the top 3 countries in international performance metrics. And they blew up their whole school system and went to a problem-based model, retrained all their teachers, and made an enormous investment to do so. So check it out, it's really interesting.
Finland's pretty good in the javelin, I'm just going to throw that in there. I'm going to blend 2 questions together here. One is, do recess, play, and music class have any place in your vision of the future classroom, or is it all and do you believe the teacher will become obsolete due to technological advances?
That's it. 2 pieces to that. First of all, art, music, performing arts, all of those things deepen engagement and learning. They are critical. Absolutely. What was the second part? Teachers are going to be more important than ever. Because the teacher has to role model being a lifelong learner to kids and guide the process, not necessarily steer it, but they have to help guide. Great teaching is always critical to great learning.
As expected, we have many more questions than we can possibly ask in the time allotted. We've got time for 3 more questions. Here's one of them. A lot of your technical info sounds more like something you would learn in college. Are you still educating your students in the basics of history and science?
So to learn history and science, do you want to memorize and regurgitate a whole series of facts, or do you want to know how to access that information, apply it, and use it through critical thinking, communication, collaboration, and so on? To me, that's the important piece. Colleges are indicating, and employers are indicating, the kids are coming to them without the skills to critically think, collaborate, work well with others, and know some content. If you only know content, you're not going to be able to work constructively. In most colleges today, you have to look at the number of colleges, all the Ivy League schools, take their freshmen, train them in collaborative learning, put them in study groups together with graduate assistants, and that's how they process their lectures and all of their information and study for exams. So if it's being done at the Ivy League level, I would contend that it's a good way to proceed.
Time for two more questions. This question is especially timely given the fact that we have students here in the audience from Walsh and Old Trail and other schools as well. Is it a good time for a teacher to get in or get out?
I think that came from one of my teachers. I think both. I think that if you're excited about some of the things that I presented, it's a great time to get in. I think the future of education is going to be dramatically exciting. I think also, for those of my generation, and I'm excited by this, not everyone in my peer group is. I know some older teachers that say, wow, change is happening at lightning speed. Maybe I need to step aside and let some younger people do this. So I think the answer is both. But good teachers need good role models, and those that are my age and older are really critical to the role modeling process of teachers to be collaborative and to deepen the strategic thinking around how to reach their kids. Very important.
We'll close with this question. We know that educating the emerging next generation is serious business, but we also know there are moments of levity in the classroom. Share with us one of the funniest things you've ever witnessed at school.
Well, you know, it's fun when I go on the road and travel outside of the region and I talk to alumni. Many of them will bring a friend to an event. And it's always good, especially I've been around for 16 years now, so I know a lot of these folks when they were much younger, and they always threaten to tell stories out of school, and that usually gets them to listen to me. But here's one. It was about my third year at Old Trail, and we were swamped in admissions, and one of our new trustees, who will remain nameless, brought their little boy in, who was 3.5, to interview for our preschool. So they were engaged in a meeting with our director of admissions at the time, and I offered to walk the little boy to the bathroom. Little boy happens. I walk him to the bathroom. On the way, he goes, oops. So, you know, we're well equipped at Old Trail. We have a whole cabinet of extra clothes. This little boy peed himself on the way to the bathroom. Not a big deal. But you're the head of school, I just peed in front of you. It's not a big deal. I do it every day. It's okay. It's not a big deal. So I run down the hallway and get some clothes and bring them back, and there's no way I'm telling mom and dad, right? He proceeds to pee all over the bathroom. Everywhere. I mean, it hit the ceiling. It was unbelievable. It's 3.5, okay? I was like, woo! Thankfully, I have 5 kids, so I've kind of been there before. So we get them dressed, we walk them back, and I wanted to see if I could pull it off. I'm colorblind. So I said, I'm going to fool mom. You know, we're going to get him back. She won't even know he had to change his clothes. Wrong. What happened? Nothing. We're okay. Everything's great. And I proceeded to clean the bathroom for the next 40 minutes. But that was probably, and by the way, he's 22 years old and graduating college soon. All right. I want to thank you guys. Great questions. Thank you very, very much. And I hope some of this inspires you. So thank you very much.
I don't think we've had that experience at Roundtable. Yeah. John, thank you for being here with us today. On behalf of the Akron Roundtable, it is my pleasure to present you with a contemplative sun as a memento of your visit with us this afternoon. This celebratory work of art was designed exclusively for the Akron Roundtable by local Akron artist and craftsman Dana Farber. Thank you.